Hey guys, UCL Fantasy Matchday 7 is here. So in this video, I'm going to take you through my wildcard team reveal ahead of the new round. Let's jump into it. So guys, UCL Fantasy is back. It is really exciting. Before we get into the content though, please hit that like, hit that subscribe button. A lot of you who are still viewing these videos, watching these videos, are not yet subscribed, and I would love for you to do that. It supports me on the channel and it helps me continue, to make these kind of videos. So I am 5k currently, quite happy with that. Have both chips left, also very happy with that. I thought it wouldn't be the case. I thought I kind of, made a mistake not wildcarding a couple of rounds ago, but it turns out I would be in a bit of a pickle this week and for the final week if I did so. So I'm wildcarding this week because obviously there are a major lack of premiums. Palmer unlikely to play, Yamal suspended, Hakimi at AFCON, Salah at AFCON. So yeah, probably not ideal to play the limitless. I have made kind of drafts for both. Both chips in both matchday 7 and 8, and it works out that wildcarding this week is probably better. There's also better budget enablers with better fixtures this week as well. So, budget enablers always help, don't they? And talking of budget picks, that's what both my goalkeepers are. Savic, who plays for Napoli side, who have kept 4 clean sheets in their last 6. Very good defensively, very cheap. You've also got Atalanta, again, 3 clean sheets in their last 4 matches. So both sides doing very, very well from a defensive perspective. Again, very cheap. You don't have to go for premium goalkeepers this week. Some of the best teams are the teams like this, who have those budget goalkeepers. So yeah, really, really happy with those goalkeepers this week. I mean, you could go for pricier options. Bayern have got a good fixture. Obviously, City have got good fixtures as well. But there's just no point. Both. I wouldn't be surprised if both of those sides conceded, right? So just go for the cheap options this week. There's not really much point in going for the premium picks. So let's now take a look at defense. This is the defence I would be wildcarding in this week. I have Alejandro Grimaldo of Leverkusen for the first time this season. He's been a pain in my bum for a long time now, since matchday 1. 4 attacking returns in the Champions League. He's actually managed 9 attacking returns in 12 Bundesliga matches, which is pretty insane. A lot of strikers in the Premier League and stuff like that aren't even putting up those numbers. So against Olympiacos side, who failed to score against a 10-man Paphos in the opening round. They've not really been convincing then. I think he's really good option. Also on penalty share as well, potentially. So really like him as the kind of premium defender this week. I've also gone for Mendes. PSG do have a fairly decent fixture against Sporting. Mendes also very attacking, right? He's managed 4 attacking returns in his 6 Champions League matches. These PSG kind of fullbacks are fantastic offensively, aren't they? Obviously, no Hakimi this week. I would love to have Hakimi. But Mendes has been really attacking too, right? So really like him. There are not many great options on that first day, is there, on the Tuesday? So I think owning a couple on that Tuesday is probably important, and Mendes kind of does allow that. Now, the opening fixture of the round is actually Club Brugge, who play Kairat. So unfortunately, the deadline is very early, so there will be no deadline stream this week. But it also means that it's a good chance to maybe have a punt on Club Brugge assets. One of them is Ordonez, who, I probably said that wrong, but he's a centre-back for Club Brugge, defender who should play, predicted to play by a contributor I spoke to. A Club Brugge fan, so he's only 4 million, very cheap, solid clean sheet potential, right? There doesn't seem to be loads of clean sheet potential this week, so he is a great option. I also think that of Buongiorno as well. Why not go for the double up in the Napoli defense, right? It's Copenhagen, not fantastic. Napoli in form defensively, not scoring many, but very good defensively at the moment. Buongiorno is very cheap. Romani is injured, so Buongiorno very, very likely to play this round. And I only need him for 1 round as well, right? So Cucurella seems like a shoe-in for me. Chelsea have arguably the best fixture on paper this week against a Paphos side who have not scored away from home during the whole Champions League campaign. So a clean sheet looks likely for Chelsea. Obviously, rotation is slightly concerning, but Cucurella is one of our most attacking kind of defenders. I do also like Reece James, but I don't think he's going to play that much. So I really like Cucurella this week. I think he's got both defensive and attacking potential against Paphos. That is the defense. I really like it. So Kairat have been absolutely awful this season. They've lost 5 out of 6 of their Champions League matches. I think they've only scored like 4 goals. Just not a good team. And Club Brugge have already put the sword to to teams like Barcelona, in which they scored 3. They have impressed defensively. So I think one of the few options you could go for is Vanaken. Now, he's a really nice, cheap enabler. I think he's around 5 million. He's managed a few attacking returns this season in the Champions League. Always been kind of pivotal to that Club Brugge attack. So really like him as a punt in that first game. Now, another punt is Cherky. We don't know what the situation is with Manchester City's Foden. I have just seen that Foden, I think, is in the squad to play against Bodo Glimt, the side who have conceded an average of 2 goals per game this season. And City, on the other hand, have averaged over 2 goals scored per game. So we'd expect goals from Manchester City. I'm not too sure what we're going to expect from them because they have been dropping points, but Cherky failed to start the last Premier League game, so I think he seems like a banker to start this one. Obviously, I could be wrong. You can never kind of guess rotation Manchester City, but I do really like him as a punt this week. I think Enzo is also a nicely priced punt. I don't think Cole Palmer is going to play this week. He's obviously, managing a thigh issue. There's something wrong with him because he did kind of slump to the floor at the end of the game against Brentford, in which we won, and he scored a penalty, but he didn't really look right. I think he's going to be rested this week, which would mean Enzo Fernandez on penalties. He's one of the highest in the Premier League for non-penalty expected goal involvement among midfield. So really, really like him against Paphos this week. He's a fantastic option in my opinion. And so is Rafinha. He's got like 5 or 6 attacking returns in his last 2 or 3 matches. Lamine Yamal is out, which means we have to rely on Rafinha. He will take penalties as well if Lewandowski and Yamal aren't on the pitch, which is very likely this week, especially with Lewa not playing, potentially Torres in replacement of him. So Rafinha feels like a shoe-in this week. I think he missed the last game, but he's probably coming back in for this one. So keep an eye out for Barcelona news there. Elise is another shoe-in. USG at home. Bayern have scored 71 goals in the Bundesliga this season. An insane amount of goals. I think that is more than double, actually, second place. I think it's Frankfurt who've scored the second most goals. But I'm really happy with this midfield. I think the only player that I would potentially take out is Cherky. I could maybe look to another Manchester City attacker, look somewhere else. But I feel like taking a punt this week, I think you have to have a bit of fun this week. There's so many players with issues out in midfield, defense and attack that I think you can afford to go for a couple of differentials. You've definitely got kind of the ceiling to pick these type of players. And Cherky isn't exactly bad, is he? I think he's got like 9 or 10 attacking returns in the Premier League this season. So I really like Cherky for this week, but we'll see what happens there as we get closer to the deadline. I think locks for me, Enzo Fernandez, potentially Rafinha, just obviously barring news there. I also really like Vanaken for that first match, and Elise, of course, is an absolute essential this week. So the forward line is quite fluid. It could potentially change. We've got reports of obviously exhaustion for Erling Haaland. I mean, leaving him out, it comes at massive risks, doesn't it? Because obviously Bodo Glimt have been not exactly ideal defensively, quite bad actually, conceding an average again, as I mentioned, 2 goals per game. So leaving Haaland out does seem like a major risk, especially because he's a standout captaincy option. But I have done it, for now. I have gone with Ousmane Dembele of PSG. He has been in fantastic form, lots of goals and assists, especially as of late. I know kind of his form was a little bit patchy at the start of the season, but he does seem to be coming back into it now. PSG, you just get goals with them. I think they're the highest scoring team in the kind of league phase, actually. So I really like Dembele as an option this week. I also like Kvaratskhelia, but I think there's so many kind of good midfield options this week, whereas in comparison to forwards, there kind of isn't. So, and Dembele does fill a forward spot. Captaincy is on him at the moment, but I am very likely to potentially move to Grimaldo, a high ceiling punt, depending on obviously fitness elsewhere as well. Grimaldo has so many routes to points, doesn't he? So don't be surprised to see me kind of move the armbands to him again. I will release my final team on social, on X before the deadline, but this is what I've got so far. I've also gone for Mbappe. There was doubts that he wasn't going to start before his last La Liga game, and he started and scored. And now there are doubts that he's going to start against Monaco at home. So I'm kind of thinking, well, is he going to play or not? Because, you know, you start leaving Mbappe and Haaland out and they start, and you're in big, big trouble, right? You know, you imagine leaving them both out and they both score a brace each. Now, that might not sound realistic, but that is very, very realistic. It's something that these guys have done on a, you know, on a weekly basis in football. So leaving them both out would definitely be stressful. It could backfire massively. So I've got Mbappe in for now. I've also got Kane. I think Kane is the most central striker this week. I think he's got 20 goals, 20 plus goals in the league. Not many strikers in Europe's top leagues have got that. So really, really like his forward line. I mean, it could change. There aren't a lot of forward options this week to switch to though, right? I mean, if we get the news that Haaland is actually going to be fit, then, you know, we have to bring him in. I'll probably look elsewhere for options if we get news on Mbappe, you know, likely not starting. But, you know, I'm fairly happy with this front three. I'm quite happy to put money into these players for now. But obviously in UCL Fantasy, lots can change. It's a fluid situation. It's not like FPL. Updates are constant, you know. So definitely monitor news. I'm quite happy with this team. Obviously, a couple of things can change, as it always does. Again, it changes fast, doesn't it? You know, the environment. But yeah, really happy with most of this team. But definitely wildcarding. I've already activated the wildcard and I'm limitless in the final round. So guys, to stay up to date with all of my UCL Fantasy and FPL videos, hit that subscribe button and I'll see you guys again soon.